And in my podcast, I talk a lot about period statements and comma statements. And so when we say I'm healing, we say it as if it's a comma, meaning forward motion, but often we're looking for I'm healed, done. I can check it off the list. I can move past it. And that's not the case.
Welcome to the Black Appalachian Coalition's podcast entitled Black Remembering, where we will bring to you the heavy and the hope across the Ohio River Valley. We want to remember who we are, where we've come from. We want to speak to the oral history of what we've done, what we've achieved. We want to speak to the ills that we have experienced while also finding solutions to those problems, those issues. We want to deal with the narrative that has kept us deeply rooted in despair. Now we want to punch through that narrative and stand up and say, we are remembering our Black past, and we are rooted, and we are here to stay. Welcome to Black Remembering. We hope that you find your place, your space, and your voice in this podcast.
Good afternoon. I have the pleasure of interviewing our podcast guru, Nikita Burks-Hale. Nikita is the CEO and head creative at Headphones and Crayons, formerly known as Journey Girl Magic. As a podcast alignment coach, she journeys and supports creatives, podcasters, and entrepreneurs as they create and launch podcasts that feel good without losing themselves in the process. As a coloring practitioner, Nikita integrates connection, community building, dialogue, and healing, all through the art of coloring. When she is not journeying, coaching, or coloring, Nikita is all about Disney Plus and spending time with her wife and 2 young kids. Welcome to the show. She is also the guru for the BLAC Black Remembering podcast, where we highlight the heavy and the hope. If y'all have been listening from the beginning, there's probably a marked, notable moment in time when our podcast quality improved. And I think I can say that with confidence because that's just me throwing shade at myself from the beginning. But Nikita has made our podcast the wonderful platform that it is. So I kind of ruined the first question, but who are you in your own words? Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm really honored to be interviewed right now. And thank you for all the flowers on this morning. And so who am I? In this moment, because I try to stay in the present, but in this moment, I am truly a journeyer. And I am just someone who feels a lot as an empath, who is just looking at making folks feel safe, making folks feel heard, and creating spaces for folks to be seen. Whether that be through podcasting, whether that be through coloring, which I know we'll probably get into and talk about, or whether that's just through everyday interactions. That is who I am.
Thank you. Speaking of journeying, how would you define that?
Journeying to me is forward motion, forward movement, actually just movement as a whole. Because I think it's important to remember in our journeys that we may move forward. Society often pushes us forward, but also sometimes we need to go back. We need to go side. We need to shift. Journeying is movement, whether it's your breath journeying throughout your body, whether it's you moving into a new space, into a new place, into a new version of yourself, remembering another version of yourself. And so journeying specifically really is just movement.
Okay, so we preaching today. This is what I'm hearing. Thank you so much for that. What are you coloring today?
I am coloring a page out of one of my coloring books that I created. It's called Headphones and Crayons. It's supposed to be a coloring book for podcasters and creatives. And so the page that I am coloring says filter out the noise so that you can see.
Ooh.
So definitely very intricate. And so, yeah, that's what I'm coloring, focusing on the word filter for today. That's really standing out for me.
I'm coloring a sloth and a llama. So I like yours a lot better. And they're both discoing under a disco ball.
We got to have that humor and just the create for create's sake. So I'm all about little sloths and llamas. I'm here for it.
Thank you. A little bit of whimsy this Friday. Would you tell us about your podcast, Headphones and Crayons, and how you got started with that work?
Yeah. So Headphones and Crayons was originally a podcast called the Journey Girl Magic Podcast. And it was created back in 2018, right after the birth of my first child, my son, as a way for me to find my voice because I had definitely lost it in parenthood. And so Journey Girl Magic, the podcast, was my first attempt at that. And so amazing episodes talking about journeying through life, one moment at a time. And then it kind of transferred or transformed into Headphones and Crayons after the birth of my second child, my daughter, during COVID. So she is a COVID baby, which is a whole word right there, a whole statement. And with her came a lot of struggle around COVID, but also with postpartum depression, really severe postpartum depression. Headphones and Crayons came from me coloring as a way to save my life, transparently speaking, and me realizing that this coloring thing was more than just coloring. And so the podcast allows me to journey or sit with folks of color, particularly Black women, and talk about life while coloring. And so I literally will have coloring sheets and they will choose basically a word. So for instance, it may be, I give them a list of words and they say, I want to choose trust for our conversation. I send them a coloring sheet around the word trust and we have a conversation about what does trust look like for you? How does that show up for you as a Black woman in the world? How has that shifted? How has that changed? Do you trust? What has that journey been like? And we just literally talk about the theme trust while coloring. And so that is what the podcast, as simple and as intricate and complex as that.
Wow. So the Journey Girl version of the podcast, is that available alongside the Headphones and Crayons episodes?
It is. If you go to Headphones and Crayons, you'll see that there's over 100 episodes. And because the first 30, 40, maybe even more are the Journey Girl Magic podcast. And then, so that was like season 1, I think. And then it transfers into the Journey Girl Magic podcast. So yeah, they're definitely both the same. And I've kept that intentionally to see that journey, to hear that journey.
Got you. Thank you. I know what the next podcast series I'm going to binge listen to is. So I had a creative prompt, and you can choose to write this outside of this episode or ponder on it as we're coloring. But I've been thinking a lot about how to take care of our past, present, and future selves. Was wondering if you could write a love note or write a love letter to your past self and your present self and your future self. What would that look and sound like?
It's interesting because usually I'm a processor, but the very first line or words automatically came to mind. And so it would say, Dear Nikita, past, present, and future, we are one and the same, is what starts it. Because for me, what I've always tried to do is say that I'm present, try to be present, and then shift. And like, I feel like I tried to have 3 different versions. There's past Nikita, there's present Nikita, and then there's future higher self Nikita, which I've deemed future Nikita is higher than past or present, which is interesting. And it's not 3 different people. This is all still me. And so that recollection and that remembering, remembering, it's just like our podcast, is that it's all one and the same. It's not 3 separate entities. They're all one. Life for me is the journey of creating synergy of all 3 and bringing them together so that they all exist at the same time. So I was driving to an appointment for my son and I was listening to a song and it is called Tomorrow is Yesterday's Present. And just the wording of that really struck me because it joined all 3 in one. And so it just resonates that tomorrow is yesterday's present. And they're all still connected. It's just time that shifts the perspective of them. I feel like I've gotten a little bit away from the question, but I still think it answers it in some way, shape, or form.
No, you answered it. You did. I was not prepared for the 3 in 1. I really do appreciate that answer though, because I think we being me, and I think most people, but
yeah,
try to recreate ourselves, or distance ourselves from our past, or try to like create some huge declaration or manifestation for our future, which is valid, but could also be limiting to being present. So thank you. Thank you. I'm taking in the wisdom.
So I don't do interviews often. And that's just because I often interview other folks. I just find I'm a real chill person, but I'm also a real philosophical and intellectual person. So folks listening to this will be like, wow, she got real deep real quick, but it makes sense. When you just said like people think about, I think about, oftentimes it is us, like we are us. And we are often viewing the world through our own lenses. And specifically in healing, like we think we have to heal the past in its own entity. And what just came to mind is like simply living life and continuing to live life automatically and activates in healing. And so it gets to a whole thing of like what we think healing should be, and healing should be a solution and solving and closure. And in my podcast, I talk a lot about period statements and comma statements. And so when we say I'm healing, we say it as if it's a comma, meaning forward motion, but often we're looking for I'm healed, done. I can check it off the list. I can move past it. And that's not the case. In healing, it's constant. Every breath we breathe is regenerating. Healing is regeneration. And so that just is what came to mind of, again, the past, the present, the future, all in one. It's consistent. It's constant. You're automatically healing every moment of every day, and your past and your present are all interwoven.
You're the guru for a reason. You earned the title. I think that's going to be the podcast episode. Like Nikita Burks-Hale, guru. I've nicknamed you our podcast guru as well, just because you're amazing and you've quite literally saved this podcast. So what are you hoping your podcast and your work with Black Appalachian Coalition's podcast, what are you hoping they will both accomplish?
For my podcast, is connection for me first, because I created the podcast for me first. And I think it's important to remember, and I transfer it into all the work I do and the work I do with other folks, is this podcast is not just for other people. Black remembering is not just for other people. It is for everyone involved first. So all the narrative organizers / fellows that are interviewing, they are getting as much out of it as the person being interviewed. And that is, for me personally, what I think makes a podcast amazing. This is a conversation, a dialogue, a journey between folks about their experiences, about their lives, about their journeys in Black Appalachia. And so that is where it starts. That is what I hope that the work that I do, that my podcast, the folks, the clients that I have, that they will all, and the listeners, they will all see that all encompassing, starting with themselves first and rippling out.
How did you get involved with Black Appalachian Coalition?
A lot of folks know as Bishop Marcia Dinkins, and I actually helped her launch her first podcast. She had found me in a directory and was like, I would like to launch a podcast. And her original one was Real Sisters, Real Talk. And it was a space for her to get real and to encourage other folks to be real. And through that journey of challenge and support and vulnerability and an amazing podcast, I basically got pulled into the work of BLAC as a whole. And so 4 years later, I'm still here. I'm still working with the podcast, expanding to more creative projects as a whole. But that's how I got started. It was with Marcia.
Bishop Marcia is amazing. Let me tell y'all, like if y'all have never heard Bishop speak in person or even on a podcast, like it's an experience. She spoke at Roots and Remedies in 2023. And I walked up to her afterwards, like, wherever you go and whatever you do, I'm going to follow you. She just has that impact on people. So a little birdie told me that you recently won an award. Would you tell us about the award, the conference, the accolades?
Nice. So yes, and I'm going to take this moment to say, we often like pause and like, oh, I don't want to talk about that. But it is really important to celebrate ourselves, to get our flowers, to recognize that the work we do holds weight. The other coloring sheet I was thinking of was My Message Makes a Difference. And so that award really solidified that my message truly makes a difference. Last summer, I was nominated for the She Podcast Awards, the Podcast Disruptor Award. And basically what that award is for and given to folks who are doing something different in the podcasting community. And so Headphones and Crayons, my coloring podcast, does just that. where the medium that I choose to have these conversations is different and it's not the norm. And the podcast that I am going to be launching soon, Coloring Meditations, also does the same. And so I got the award, and it was an amazing ceremony, an amazing night, an intimate ceremony, but it showed me that I don't have to be like everyone else. I'm not like everyone else. Just from like this episode, that folks realize that I don't talk like everyone else. I go deep quick, but not in a weird way. It just makes sense and it blows people away, but also draws them in at the same time. It took me a while to honor that part of me, but this is who I am and I embrace it. So that podcast award, Podcast Disruptor, was a recognition for what I do and who I am. And I'm really proud and honored to receive it.
Yes, yes, yes. And to be a disruptor means that you are not doing the status quo. You are above and beyond the status quo and offering something that's doing the work with a capital W and not just, hi, listen to my podcast. I'm going to give you 5 tips. No. We're doing more deep work than that. But congratulations. You've earned the flowers. You have the flowers. And I'm a fan. We work together and I adore you. And I'm also a fan. Like, I'm going to fan person over you.
Something I want to touch on that just came up is like the Disruptor Award, Podcast Disruptor. And I get called like a rebel and a disruptor so much. And what I want to showcase for folks is that can be done with ease. Often we see disruptors put as, and these are all neutral words, but as aggressive, like as you are going 100% all the time, and opposite of that is you get burnout. And so I am really excited about this award because I'm a disruptor and I'm a rebel, but in an easeful way. This work that I'm doing with coloring will never burn me out, but it is completely flipping things on its head. For folks listening, even the work that BLAC does, and when we're on the front lines doing policy change and clean air initiatives, like it's hard work. It takes a lot. But I also want community members to remember and realize that this work can also be fulfilling and soul giving and can be done with ease. It takes all of you, but it shouldn't take from all of you.
Preaching. But like preaching that feeds you.
Yeah.
We're recording this before lunch and y'all, I was hungry. I'm not hungry no more.
Nice. Nice.
This is sustaining me. How are you doing with your coloring project so far?
So I am almost done, quote unquote, done. It was done before I even started, if I want to be honest. But in my brain, I am almost done with the word filter. And I don't know, I chose to cut the focus on this word because there's a lot going on in my life right now. Mm-hmm. And both like work-wise, family-wise, me-wise. And filtering out the noise is really important to determine what the noise is and how that shifts on a daily basis. Filter can also mean focus and honing in. And so in order to truly filter out things I don't want, I need to focus and hone in on the things that I do. And so that's the word I'm focusing on, and it happens to be blue. So it's coming along. Are you coloring in blue as well?
My slop is blue.
I like it. And my favorite color is purple, so I like it.
We're on the same wavelength.
There we go, always.
What are your hopes for BLAC and let's say the next like 2 years? What would you love to see?
I love that question. So what I want BLAC to see and what I want others to see is that, one, we are here to stay. 2, that we've been doing the work. And I just want there to be just so much expansion. And BLAC is an amazing entity that is truly changing the world one community at a time. From, again, its policy initiatives to its clean air initiatives, to its environmental justice, to its social justice, to its focus on healing. And so I just want these next 2 years for other folks to see the work that we're doing. And that is causing us to expand and get uncomfortable in ways that we never had before. That is causing us to stretch and to think outside the box, think outside of what we are doing and not doing more, but how can we take what we're doing and really allowing other folks to see it more. So in these next few years, we're going to be inviting folks in so much more. We're going to be expanding the podcast, expanding what it means to podcast, what it looks like to podcast. We're going to be disrupting the world in many different ways through our focus on creativity, through our focus on healing, through our focus on being Black and celebrating Black in Appalachia. So that's what I want these next 2 years to really bring to the masses.
And I'm so excited to see it come into fruition and to be a part of it. If y'all are just joining this podcast for whatever wild reason, for one, welcome to the family. And to go back to episode 1 and see how far we've come, and then get hype with us to see how far we'll continue to go. I would love to know, for myself and for our audience, how do we keep up with what you're doing online, both BLAC and Headphones and Crayons?
Yeah. So with BLAC, with BLAC, I would definitely say follow BLAC and all that they're doing, because I'm interwoven throughout. You may not see my face on the front line, but with every podcast episode you hear, with every spoken word event that we have, with every wellness and healing event that we facilitate, for every lunch and learn conversation that we have, I'm a part of it. 1, as the organization. 2, as just a Black woman who's living in Appalachia. 3, as someone who is healing. I am a part of it. You are a part of it. So that's the fullest way. For the podcast, it's coming back. So I'm going to be launching a new podcast. So Headphones and Crayons will continue for a new season. And then Coloring Meditations is going to be a new podcast that is just going to be me doing guided meditations that are meant to be done while coloring. And that's just another way for you to connect with me, to connect with yourself, because I am you.
Definitely trying to get in on these meditation coloring podcasts.
Yes, I'm excited about them.
Well, thank you so much, Nikita. It has been an honor to interview you. And I'm going to continue to follow you, give you your flowers, be weird with you, because that energy is welcome.
I love it.
We'll link every link in the show notes. Thank y'all so much for joining and listening to us.